Hello and welcome to episode 96 of the Brass Junkies. I'm your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by my co-host, Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you this fine evening?
I feel very peaceful. I don't know why. It was a nice, quiet, calm day. Had a nice, long meditation session. It's chilly out, so I'm all bundled up. And just so excited to be speaking with you, Andrew.
Oh, there's nothing I'd rather do. It's not like my Red Sox are playing in game one of the ALCS right now. After kicking the crap out of the New York Yankees, we celebrated in Yankee Stadium twice in 19 days. Sprayed champagne all over their visiting locker room by clinching the division in Yankee Stadium and then winning the ALDS in Yankee Stadium. You care, don't you?
I teared up when you started talking about it.
It made me very, very happy to know that all of the people who tortured me throughout my childhood at Red Sox-Yankees games with 1918 chants, that all of them either went to bed sad or they have died. So that made me really happy. That's not dark at all, is it? That's like
no.
It's a little. It's normal. Anyway, I have intentionally not looked at my phone at all. I have no idea how the game is going, and we're going up against.
Oh, you want me to tell you?
No, we're going up against Justin Verlander tonight, and he's really good. So, but so's
I like
Chris
that you
Sale.
think I might know.
No,
that was pretty good.
I know. Anyway, we were joined tonight by trumpet player extraordinaire Jen Marotta. She was fantastic.
Very cool. Yeah, a really nice person, and is doing great stuff.
What a fascinating career she's having. I mean, just, yeah, as you hear, she's taught at a bunch of places, and she's like this freelancer extraordinaire. She was in the Marine Band for a while. Board member for the International Women's Brass Conference, some really good stuff. So
well, and actually, we neglected to mention on the show. It's in the bonus episode that she and her husband Thomas Houchin, Houchin,
Tumis Houchin.
Anyway, they have done the updated Arbans, and there's a link to it in the show notes, but we didn't get into it until the bonus episode. So that's another cool thing that they've done.
So Patreon. Anybody who would like to go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies, you can become a Patreon patron for as little as $1 per episode, which is a whopping $2 a month. You can get access to all of the bonus episodes, including a talk we had with Jeff Connor a couple of weeks ago, this conversation with Jen. Every guest sticks around, and we have bonus content for you there, and you get access to all of the back content as soon as you become a Patreon patron. So you can go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn more about that. And then the last thing before we get to our interview with Jen is if you could go to iTunes and leave us a review and a rating, that would be awesome. We have got a lot. We've got well over 100 now, and we are pushing for 200. That is our next big goal. So it's 200 ratings. So if you could go there and help us out there, that would be really great. That's a great way to have other people find the show. So without further ado, let us get to our conversation with LA trumpet player Jen Marotta. And today on the Brass Junkies, we are joined by Los Angeles area trumpet player Jen Marotta. Jen, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Lance is never that happy to talk to trumpet players, even nice ones like you. But it's old habits die hard.
Yeah, I'm not usually either.
Yeah. So I knew I liked her. There you go. So we had Jen. She's insanely busy on the teaching front, the performing front. You're about to hear all about this on the family front, and so it's been very hard to get all three of our schedules to line up. And we did have them lined up. I don't know when that was, like 6-9 months ago, and she had the best excuse. We've only had a few people that have had to postpone, but you've had the best excuse by far of anybody, it was amazing that you were apologetic, and we were both like, really? Like, yeah. she said, "I'm really sorry, but I just got a call to play pictures at an exhibition with the LA Phil." And it's like, oh, and so you're prioritizing that over appearing on the Brass Junkies? I see how this is. So that was
sorry.
Yeah, well, if my college students, when they didn't do what they were supposed to do on time, if they could drop that excuse, I'd be like, great, turn it in next year. I don't care. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever you need. So, so tell us what you're up to today, and then we can kind of go back to your roots here, where I am in DC. So, what are you up to these days?
Sure. Well, I've been in LA for about 6 years now, and freelancing. And for the past year now, I've been teaching at USC. So that's been a new venture for the last year, and teaching temporarily while Jens was on sabbatical for just part of a year.
Who's that?
Some guy that I know you have heard of, maybe. And then what else do? I freelance. I play a lot in LA and still travel a little bit to play in other places. It's a little less now that I have a couple little ones, but I play a lot in LA Phil, LA Chamber Orchestra. I play with quite a good amount, and opera, and sometimes the San Francisco Symphony. A couple times a year I go to St. Louis Symphony. So, just putting it all together, piecing it all together around my USC schedule and kids. And so that's what I've been up to the last couple of years.
And you were in the President's Own Marine Band before all that, correct?
Yes, that I was in a couple cities ago. I was there from 2001 to 2005, basically right out of my master's. Well, I had just done 1 year of my master's degree and then won that job. So went to that gig, and it was kind of like my first career move. So it was great. It was an awesome job.
And then you went to Atlanta, right?
Yeah, very briefly Indianapolis, and then Atlanta for about 6 years, and then LA. So lots of moving. I think we're here for good, so it's good. I don't want to move anymore.
LA is one heck of a town, so yeah, you chose a good one to plant roots in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's pretty sweet.
So what is it like being married to a fellow professional trumpet player?
You
can be real with us.
No,
we have like 5 listeners, so it's fine.
No, it's good. That was kind of my big rule, is don't date a trumpeter, and I totally screwed it up.
So you married one. Yeah. You never dated, right?
I know.
You just went straight to marriage. Yeah.
We just jumped right into marriage. Yeah, right. No, I had just gotten to DC, and we were friends for a while before we started dating. But so we were both in the Marine Band when we met.
And I guess, why don't you tell people who your husband is, for anyone that doesn't know?
Yeah, sure. Tom Houchin. He's principal trumpet in the LA Phil. And we teach together at USC, and we've taught actually together in previous schools as well. In Atlanta, I was teaching at Emory University, and then we both got, for the same year, we both got a job at Kennesaw State University, and sort of learned quickly on that we actually complemented each other pretty well teaching-wise, because we had a lot of similar sort of just pedagogical ideas, but from different backgrounds. And we had very different teachers, but we still had a lot of similarities, but maybe approached it differently. So I think we team teach really well together. But so we started doing that in Atlanta, and then, we do that at USC now, and it's been going great so far. But marrying a trumpet player, dating another trumpeter, it's funny because I have a lot of friends that I often say, "Oh, I could never date another musician at all," and I can see the perks and the pros and cons of each. But I will say that the pros are that we understand when each other has to practice to the god awful hours of the night, and we're okay with it. and we get it when the other has a big week coming up, and we can sort of help the other out. And so I think that works well. And the only way it really could work, though, is that we're both sort of different kind of players. He's obviously a principal player, and I love playing section. I love being the support. And my favorite is playing second trumpet, just, helping the first out. And so I think that works well. If we were both sort of principal players, I don't know if that would work out so good, but it is a loud house. I'll say that.
What fascinates me is that you guys are both like at the top of the profession. I mean, that's the thing. It's not even just that you're both musicians or that you're both trumpet players, but that you're both like ridiculously accomplished trumpet players. It's kind of cool that you ended up together. So
yeah, thanks. It's been a sort of a balancing act and a puzzle juggle as we go, just having to figure out what move works for both of us, because obviously we sort of set out at the beginning. We had sort of a rule of whoever gets the bigger job, the other will go. And so Tom won freaking Atlanta. I was like, seriously, come on, stop this, come on. And then LA, I was like, okay, fine. But it actually worked out great, because I really have, even though when you set out, you're in school and you think, oh, I definitely want to play in an orchestra and that's all I want to do. And then when you start freelancing, sometimes freelancing can be seen as you didn't make it, or it's not where you really want to be. But I actually really enjoy it. I like the freedom. I like the variety. I like to be able to sort of take off whenever I want and travel to other cities to play, and just, I like that. And also helps when you're a parent. I can work my schedule around my own time. So I enjoy it. I like doing what I'm doing. So I think it's been a process to get to where I'm happy. So it works.
That's pretty great. So Emery, did you know the ambassador of the euphonium, Adam Fry?
I totally know Adam, the ambassador. Of course I know Adam.
You have to call him ambassador the next time that you see him. So
okay,
please.
I'll tell him.
Yeah,
I don't know when I'll see him, but I'll definitely remember that.
Well, you need to manufacture a trip back to Emory just to call him ambassador. So
just for that, okay, I'll do that.
That came from his appearance on the Brass Junkies, and at a
oh no
at a tuba conference, I was standing talking with him, and some kid came up to him because they saw that I was talking to him and said good afternoon, ambassador, and then walked away, and Adam went, oh hell, and he just started yelling. It was awesome. It was really great. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It happened at least 3 times during the conference. So, and he was quote unquote hating it. I think he was loving it. So he did think it was funny. So actually that was a message that he sent. I don't know whether he sent that to me, Lance, or that was a group text, but he begrudgingly after his interview, he said, you guys are really funny. He said, I really don't like to say that, but it's true. You guys are funny.
Fine. I guess I'll admit it.
I don't want to encourage you. Yeah, it's because you're being jackasses in my direction, but still, you guys are funny. So it's like, yeah, we got the
ambassador.
Sticking with that, so then Tom Gibson and Wes Funderburk are good friends of ours as well. So when you were over at Kennesaw.
Yeah, they're great.
Yep, they're
and that was Dave Keeler was there at the same time, yeah?
Yep, Dave Keeler, I know him well. Yep, they're all great.
Dave and I went to college together a million years ago.
Oh my gosh, really? Mm-hmm. He's a character. We always had a good time. I know. We had some fun times.
Yeah, I'm
in
not
and
surprised.
out of school, just hanging out, and yeah, it was really fun. And Tom Gibson's always obviously really fun, and
yeah, Wes
is great. So cool. Yeah, it's funny. It's like a school that when I moved to Atlanta, I had never heard of, and then when we got there, the new building was built, and a new hall was built, and all these great faculty were coming in, and it turned into a really awesome school. I had no idea when I got there, so it was really good experience.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, awesome. And so you must know Joe Bello then?
Yeah, Joey
you know Joe Bello?
Followed me into the Air Force. When I got out, Joey got in.
Okay, we went to middle school and high school together, and we're close friends.
Really? There you go. So he went. I forgot because he did 25 different things, right? He got in, and then he got out, and then he was going to be an officer, and then he was going to be a conductor, and then he was going to be a
exactly.
Now he's out.
quits every big job you can get for you.
That's right, exactly.
We were joking before I hit record that Lance had reached the top of the euphonium world, like gigging wise, like across the board, and he's quit every single thing. He's out of options at this point. So
retired. Let's say retired.
Well, that's it. I've retired many, many times.
We're not a fan of spin here on the Brass Junkies. We try to keep things, this is honest reporting here. So, so
there's no spin.
Before you mentioned, there's also no reporting. So of anything. Yeah. So we just get really talented people like you, and then make them uncomfortable, and then we say, and that'll do it for another episode of the Brass Junkies, and that's it.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah. So you mentioned before your pedagogical philosophy. Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. So I studied with Barbara Butler for my undergrad degree, and she was just an amazing teacher for me, and trumpet wise, musician wise, and not only her, but I had a really strong background of teachers growing up, more like band director type influences. But I grew up in Chicago, and definitely had a Chicago symphony sort of, idolized Bud Herseth sort of sound in my head growing up. And so then I went to Eastman and studied with Barbara, and transferred to Northwestern when they moved, came back to Chicago. So Barbara and Charlie were, and they still, their trumpet students are everywhere, and almost every major symphony orchestra, at least one member studied with them. And
that's unreal.
So yeah, it's really crazy. They just actually, I think you interviewed Jeff Strong. He just won the third trumpet spot in LA Phil.
He did
a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so he's going to be a new member of the LA Phil.
Exciting.
But so I think he's the first. Well, I guess Jim Wolt did study with. I think I have to double check. But so that's someone else in LA Phil, and Chicago is obviously filled with them, and now New York, and they're just their students are everywhere. And so, the background I had was just not how, that they're just like these freaks, but why are they so just, accomplished at teaching and having their students win jobs. And so my background was really, with Barbara, I just learned so much about how to balance, learning with a musical view. So, having a really strong foundation of sound and what you want to sound like, and knowing what you want to say, and making that the primary focus, but then in turn knowing how to fix the physical things that get in the way of being able to say that. And so I with her, I remember she had such a different approach with each student, that I always found that to be really awesome. And I try and do that with my students now, that, I don't have a one program, one method that fits every student. I really try and cater it to each person's needs. And especially in a city like LA, where, I grew up, everybody wanted to be an orchestral trumpet player. And in LA, it's not necessarily the case. Some people want to play, studio stuff, and other people want to play brass quintets for a living. And, it's just really different. So trying to adjust my teaching style for each student. And, some people think stamp, are really big into stamp. And I grew up big into Chickowitz, and trying to sort of take what I think works out of each of those for each individual student and help them that way. So that's kind of my sort of teaching style. So I wouldn't say I have one pedagogical set method,
right?
But mine would be just, really trying to tune into each student to help them figure out what works for them, and guide them that way.
Makes sense.
I'm old enough that when I went to Northwestern, Chickowitz was the trumpet professor.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I took one class
That's
with
cool.
him. I took, I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically orchestral style, brass orchestral style class, where we listened to the entire quarter. We listened to recordings that he had made, these clips, like he said, like 30 years earlier, and had played them for every class. And so we just listened to like every major brass piece, and would listen to a couple of American versions, Western European, Eastern European, and just talked about the differences in the players, and as you could imagine, he had quite an insight into not just this sounds different, but like who it was, how they did things differently. It was, it was incredible. I actually didn't skip that class.
It's the only class you actually wanted to go to.
That was one. The ones that didn't involve me playing the tuba, all of those I took very seriously. The rest of them was always up for debate. So, but that one I did not miss. So, because that was like, you could tell there was some legendary stuff going on there. So.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, he was, when I got to Northwestern, had been very sick, and so I didn't actually get to see him. I think I saw maybe one class with him in my last year there. And Barbara and Charlie, I think Charlie, but I know Barbara had studied with Chikowitz, so, she did have a lot of things that he had helped her with, so sort of through the grapevine, but yeah, sadly I didn't get much contact with him.
So how big's the studio at USC right now? And how many trumpet professors are there? Is it just you and Tom, or are there more?
It's just us two. There is, a jazz element for some students. I think Mike Stever is teaching some jazz students, and but it's mostly just us two doing the classical trumpets or the basic trumpet majors. And in the studio, there are currently 14.
And then how do you decide how to divide them up?
Sure. We have them do, the goal is between 12 and 14. And we do half with me, half with Tom, and then the next semester they switch. So. Oh,
I see. That's cool.
Yeah. And, we sometimes, obviously, since Tom and I work well together, they can come, if someone has an audition, they can come play for me, or, and we're really open to, many times, if I have a student working on something that I know Tom is really good at helping with, is say, go to Tom next week and ask him to help you with this, or I'll tell him, what to work on. And so we're pretty open like that. We want, to make sure that we're doing what we think is best for the student. But in general, we do like the consistency of keeping one teacher for a semester, because I feel like too much back and forth can make it hard to, get momentum. But so that's basically how we generally run it.
That makes sense.
Cool system. Yeah.
So USC has announced, I don't know when it's launched, so I don't know if you are able to talk about it, but they're doing some interesting things in terms of the paths that students are going to be taking through their undergrads. Is that a thing you can talk about, or is it still?
It's all pretty new, so I actually don't know a bunch about the details yet. But you're right. Yeah, they've been really doing a lot of experimentation and solidifying of what they can do to cater it to, like I said, the individual student. I don't know enough to talk about the details, honestly, since I don't think it's been implemented yet. But and the funny thing is, at USC, and one thing that since this is I just started my second year there, so I'm still in the early stages of this, but it's very, at least in the trumpet studio, it's very top heavy. We have mostly grad students and mostly doctoral students. So we currently only have 2 undergrad trumpets. So we're working to change that and make it so it's a little bit more balanced. But it's just a very expensive school to go to for undergrad. So people tend to come more as grad students. But so we're working on that. So I'll obviously be learning more about those different paths that they can take to work. But I think it's really cool, definitely implementing music technology more, and, the options of doing more sound recording stuff, and putting that to go alongside with their performance. I think it's just to make them more well-rounded and more versatile when they get out into the real world. So I think it
appears
really awesome.
To be sort of from the outside looking in terms of what I've seen on the website anyway, and the press release stuff, it's a bit of a choose your own adventure. And
exactly.
There's some things in common the first year, and then starting in the second year, if I understand it correctly, you start to go down more of an individualized path, and the third and fourth years is kind of tailoring it to your specific needs, ending with a capstone project of sorts. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's super exciting.
I read that and was doing fist pumps. Yeah, when that thing came out, I think it starts being implemented next fall. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's next year.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you're right. They have the basic things, obviously lessons, ensembles, and their theory and stuff like that are going to be required. But then taking their own path. I like choose your own adventure. That's good. I'll have to use that.
So how do you balance, how much are you on the road, and how do you handle that with the kids, and like what's that whole, that's just always, I just remember as when mine are all grown up, but
yeah,
it was
sure.
always like a stressor.
It's hard. I don't do as much now. Before, even when my son was a little younger, I would go to St. Louis a little bit more. In San Francisco, obviously it's not that tough of a commute, so I can make it work for a week here and there. But I typically try not to do things when it's many weeks in a row. Maybe do a week max at a time, so I can either bring them, which they're getting to the point now. My son's starting kindergarten, so I can't do that as much. But summertime, I'm gone a lot, but I bring them with me, and I go to the Grand Teton Music Festival. Like last summer, I played for 5 weeks, and so I brought them along, and it's like a child paradise. So they get to grow up doing that. I know.
Craig Knox goes out there, right?
Exactly. Craig's great. And the tubas usually they split it up because obviously you can't come the whole time. But Jatik, do you know Jatik from Toronto?
Oregon. Yep.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes, and who else has been to? Carol Yonch came for the first time to play this past year.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, she's pretty good. She's pretty awesome. I think that was the 3 this past summer. Yeah, but usually Craig comes for 3 or 4 weeks, and he's awesome. So
yeah, that's
Craig's kid and my kid are buddies. They go to the same school, and they're always.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're thick as thieves.
Let's go. What's his Cam?
Yeah, Cam. Sorry.
Cameron. Oh, that's funny. His son babysat my kids over the summer. It's very weird. I know.
Very nice.
This flowchart is getting confusing.
I know. I know.
I went to middle school with his friend, and now your kid. Yeah. This is all getting very confusing.
I know. It's a weird little weird world. It's too close.
Well, I want to hear.
So I
Nope. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Nope. Please.
No, I was just gonna say the Teton Festival is kind of like the longest chunk of time that that I'm gone, and so Tom plays sometimes, a couple weeks, but like last year, I think he played 3 weeks. Usually it's closer to 1 or 2 weeks, depending on his schedule. But so I usually just load up the van and put the kids in the car and go for the weeks that I'm there, and he'll come out when he's able to. So it all works out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your experience with the Marine Band, but first, Lance, can you tell these beautiful people about Duquesne?
Duquesne University in beautiful and sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, has an awesome school of music, the Mary Papert School of Music, and the brass area at the Mary Papert School of Music is one of the sponsors on this show. So we want to take just a moment to encourage you to click on the link in the show notes below and visit the site that they've set up to highlight the faculty and performance opportunities there. And I want to very, very, very special thanks to Jim. I'm looking at, Russ Edders is one of our fans, and he suggested a whole bunch of
one of our
nicknames.
Patreon patrons sent us an email with like 50 possible ridiculous nicknames for Jim Nova. This is a true story, and like they were like legit funny. Like Lance doesn't need help with being funny, but this was good. So Lance, pick a good one.
Jim jauntily jeopardizes judgment Nova. Thanks to Russell Edders, Duquesne University, and Jim jauntily jeopardizes judgment Nova.
So, thank you, Russell. All right, so now we do the awkward segue back into a normal conversation until we segue back into abnormal conversation. So, can you tell us about your time in the Marine Band and what that was like?
Yeah, sure. So I had just finished my first year of my master's, and I wanted that job over the summer. So I left and started the job. And the crazy thing is that I enlisted, so you go through all this, try and get your high security clearance and all this stuff. And they look into, to everyone you've ever known. And then they, I swore in, and then 4 days later, then September 11th happened.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty intense. But, and I was in Chicago at the time and was literally about to move, days later. And so I got to DC about a week after the 11th happened, and not much actually was happening in the band because they were just trying to figure out what's going on and make sure everything's, safe, and nothing was happening at the White House. Everything got canceled. It was just crazy. So, so the first year or so was a little hard just because there were so many funerals and, just White House things. And I remember playing at the year anniversary, and anniversary sounds like the wrong word, but after September 11th, and playing at Ground Zero. And, that was probably one of the most memorable, sad, but just memorable. I don't even know how to describe it. Just moments was a year after playing at Ground Zero and basically the pit of it. It's just all it was is dirt, and there was a huge memorial. People are putting all the pictures and flowers on, and it was a crazy windy day. And George Bush was speaking, and while he's speaking, we're playing the Nimrod from Enigma Variations, and it's so windy that we're holding our stance, and dirt's flying everywhere, and pictures that are coming from the memorial were like blowing at our feet, and it's like everyone was crying. Like, how do you play this? It's just like the most intense and musical, emotional moments. And,
wow.
But aside from that whole thing, the band was amazing. The group is just so tight, personality wise and playing wise, and everybody, we'd go on these long tours, and you get to know everybody very well. Obviously, you're on a bus with them every day, and so it was just like a big family. And I think that's the biggest thing I miss about the band is just, even if you were playing a hard job, that you were all just sort of in it together, and sort of camaraderie that happened. And I think it was an amazing job.
Who was the boss? Was Mike the boss when you were there?
Well, when I got there, it was Tim Foley, and then Mike took over for him about halfway through my 4 years there. So, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, it was great. They were both very different from each other, but both good in their own ways. And I loved playing under Tim. He was just super musical and super easy to follow, and he would change it, concert to concert on our tours. I always found that really, really exciting, and I loved his musicality. And then Mike was just really a good leader, and he was, again, also easy to follow, and it's just they both had their strengths, and it was cool to see the difference from one to the next, and how they were different, but both awesome in their own ways. So, and then I think Jason took over right as I was leaving, or right after I left, Jason Fettig.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
Well, there you go. Mike's a former guest of the Brass Junkies, and he and I were
really?
We were lowly euphonium players together. Way back.
Way back. It's actually weird to just call him Mike because he was Colonel.
Colonel Mike.
But,
Colonel Mike.
Colonel, yeah. But now I can call them whatever I want.
Yeah.
Everybody's out now. Yeah, anything you want.
Exactly. No, it was a great job though. I miss a lot about it. I'm seeing about a bunch of my friends on Facebook posting their tour pictures, and it's like, oh yeah, it all comes back.
You guys took one long tour, right? We did 2 3-week tours, like one in the spring, one in the fall. But I thought you guys went out for 6 or 7 weeks, didn't you?
Yeah, I think they've shortened it since. But when I was in it, it was about 7 weeks long. It was pretty crazy.
Wow,
I remember there was it was intense. I remember, the first 2 or 3 weeks, and I was, even before I was dating Tom, I was single. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have any need to be in DC. It's like, this is cool. I'm going to go see the country. And 2 weeks in, going out partying with your friends, and then about week 4, you're like, okay, I'm sick of fast food. And week 5, you're like, I'm getting fat. I need to, I don't want to see anyone anymore. And then week 7, you're like, okay, this is done. I'm over this.
I'm fat. These friendships are superficial, and I hate America.
Exactly. We called it was hilarious. Hopefully the band people don't kill me. But they called it our tour babies, because everyone would come back with like a little belly because, I got my tour baby. I got to go work out.
That's funny.
That's great. Now I say I wish I was as fat as I was in the Marine Band 10 years later or whatever it's been. I know.
Tour baby. I don't think those words were ever uttered in the quintet, Lance.
Not in the way you're talking about, no.
That's a different scenario.
And moving right along.
It's so good. None of my Marine friends will be surprised when they hear me talking. They'll be surprised I was so PC, so we're good.
I'm guessing the trumpet section got along pretty well. There were a lot of really good humans in there, and some of them are still there. Yeah,
totally. I always told everybody, it's like, you'll never find a group of about 18 trumpeters that actually all like each other.
Right.
And it was really remarkable, actually, because how many people could get along, and even if it wasn't your best friend, you still respected each other, and there wasn't any, at least when I was there, maybe it's changed since, but there weren't any people that just did not like each other or didn't get along. I was pretty impressed. I mean, you look in a lot of orchestras and there's 3 people, 4 people, and they don't like each other. It's like, for 18, that's pretty impressive.
Keep it moving,
and trumpeters.
Keep it moving.
Yeah, no, we could. I'll just leave it there.
I was actually just thinking about 18 trumpet players getting along with each other. That was just kind of, I was trying to process that. So, but all the ones that I know well, John and I grew up with Matt Harding, and there's just a lot of and Kurt and. Yeah, they're all good people, which is kind of
really good people.
Yeah, which is kind of off-putting because I like to mock trumpet players. So, and I like to make it personal, not just
in general, like actual people.
Yeah, as I often joke, I've made fun of trumpet players from the stage on 4 continents, and it's 4 for 4 in terms of cultures, and then there's like multiple cultures within those continents, and everywhere laughs. It's like it's a universal truth that you can always go to. So
it is.
And then people like you who smash the stereotype, but I'm really good at compartmentalizing, so I just ignore the fact that that you exist, and I just proceed as I was.
You never know. You just maybe I don't. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe I just
I think in those
for 7 weeks. Yeah.
In those bands, I think it's not always a fun gig, and so there's this just sort of sense of you're all going through this experience together. Exactly. And it's not any worse or any better for anybody else, and so it's just kind of you're all brothers and sisters in arms, kind of. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very true. Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's like I remember I played for Reagan's funeral. Maybe I'm not sure if you did too, but
I was out by then. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a really hard day because it was about 90 degrees outside, and I remember we were all lining up for the state march, and we were outside, and we were standing at attention for a good hour before we even moved, and people were dropping like flies. It was crazy, and just catching each other, just watching. It's like, and then you're thinking, am I next? And I'm okay. I think I'm good. And I remember Tom was standing right next to me, and we were muttering under our breath to each other, like, how you doing? How's it going? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Trying not to move, but it was a pretty intense, but I remember that experience, just like the entire Marine band, and not just the band, but we had, support staff marching with us, and everybody was in it together. And it's just, it was kind of a bonding experience, but in a really tough situation. But
sure. So, Woody English played taps. Was that the one that he played that for? I'm trying to remember.
I think so. I'm not actually sure who played for that one.
I think it was.
Not any of us.
Well, it was beautiful. He did a great job. That's a high pressure thing.
Why have we not had him on the podcast?
I'll never forget the...
It's a good question.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You should. I remember when we moved to Atlanta, my very first gig that I got was playing in the Atlanta Opera. And I was playing, and we were about to tune. And I, obviously just had this whole Marine Band experience playing outside and, freezing temperatures and hot temperatures. And we're about to tune, and we actually hadn't tuned yet. We were about to tune. And the oboe player wouldn't play that A because the temperature in the pit was like 3 degrees off from union regulations. It was too cold and my oboe was going to crack. And all I could think was like, I mean, can I, are we censored here? I said, are you fucking kidding me? Like, like it's like ridiculous. Seriously. Come on. It's just like a little perspective, I guess. But yeah.
Wait, did this person have a thermometer on their stand?
Yeah, apparently so, because our whole thing got delayed because of this. I remember it was my very first rehearsal there. It's like, oh my God, people, we're inside. You'll be fine. Get over it.
Wow.
Anyway. That's pretty funny.
Lance, I am marking this show as explicit as we speak.
We never
explicit.
Yep. There you go. Yep.
Are you beep?
Now and forever. Yes. Yep. See, we thought we got a nice one, Lance, and here she is dropping F-bombs at oboe players who aren't even here to defend themselves.
I know. I'm pretty much just explicit all the time. Sorry. And I have kids, and they're in the other room, so I'm just gonna I can swear.
Pretty good.
Lance and I never swear.
No.
Yeah,
I know, right?
We had a very strict rule in Boston Brass: no swearing. So it was.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Can you imagine if we tried to do that? That would have been.
What is that? Didn't you? I remember you saying that sometimes you would forget when you'd get home, Andrew, and would keep talking like you were on the road.
Yes.
I'd just look at you and say, yeah. Know your audience.
She'd say, she would literally say, "Where you at?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, sorry." Or it was like the know your audience was always when I would tell some joke that the van would find funny, and that she was just like that. She might have found funny, but she was too busy being distracted by by this overriding fear of why did I marry this man? So it's kind of like blocking out the ability to find it funny. Yeah, know your audience. Like, yeah, fair enough. So explicit is where we will go. So that's fine. So. All right, we need to take just a moment here to thank Parker Mouthpieces for, speaking of cursing, it made me think of Michael Parker. So, after this, I got something to tell you, Lance, and I'm going to tell everybody at once, which is awesome. So thank you to Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model euphonium mouthpiece. It's still in a prototype, actually, but they are also talking about releasing a temperature-resistant oboe. So that would be kind of maybe something that they could use in the Atlanta Opera. So you can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So we have a number of new interns who are kicking all available ass for us. It's been amazing how much we have gotten done in a month. With there are 6 of them, and they're just it's been really, really great. Well, one of the interns, his name is Cody, and he is a former student of Michael Parker's. And Lance and I, as we're going to get to in just a few minutes here, when we're going to ask you about our dear friend Jens Lindemann, but we like to A, mess with our friends, and B, really drive jokes into the ground. That's like we're each better at that than our respective instruments. I think and it's not close. So one thing that Lance has encouraged people to do on a number of occasions is to email Michael Parker and to ask him if he has any plans to develop a mouthpiece for the double-belled euphonium. So Mike will suddenly just get like a slew of emails from listeners asking about double-bell euphonium mouthpieces, and then he always sends me a text message with some spicy words telling me where to go, because we were roommates in college. So Cody, we set him up with a pedalnotemedia.com email address, and I then said, and I would suggest that the first email that you send with this new email address might be to your former teacher asking him about the double-belled euphonium mouthpiece. And so Cody CC'd me on it, blind CC'd me on it, and it was hilarious. It was like long and detailed, and it was like really specific about different mouthpieces according to the bell sizes, and it was good. So we've got Mike's former students who are now our interns torturing him on our behalf using our email addresses. I was pretty proud of that.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So if any of you want to send Michael Parker an email, you can go to parkermouthpieces.com and you could ask him to maybe move this along, or actually ask him about the temperature-resistant oboe.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
What about sack butt mouthpieces?
that would be good too. So we'll tell you how to get in touch with Jen at the end. Only she's a nice person who's busy. Only reach her with like actual important stuff. So but Michael, just let him have it. So yeah, we just need that we need that abuse to keep on coming. So Jen, you are on the board of the International Women's Brass Conference. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I've been on the board, I think, for 2 or 3 years now. And for a lot longer, I've actually been the editor for their newsletter that happens twice a year.
Awesome.
And I think the first time I was involved with IWBC was when I competed, I think, in a competition. I didn't win. So, but I went, I remember I was like, I'll just try this competition. And I didn't play that great. And then I went and I realized that the conference was actually pretty cool. And so I then just expressed interest in just being involved a little bit more. And then it was funny. They're like, actually, we had someone decide to finish being the editor, so we were looking for somebody, and like, okay, we'll try it. I've never been an editor for anything, but I'll try it, and actually have really enjoyed it, and just putting that together twice a year. And now I've been playing at the last, I think, 4 or 5 conferences. I've played with the Monarch Brass, which is an ensemble they put together for the conference, and it's a really killer group. And it's just fun to be involved. And this year I'm on the artist committee, so trying to put together who's going to be the artists for the conferences coming up and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been really fun to be involved in that. Yeah, we had actually for a couple of years in LA, they through the IWBC a holiday brass concert that Susan Slaughter puts on in St. Louis, and we did sort of a branch in LA for some years, and it was really fun. And so it's just Susan Slaughter's always been a sort of idol of mine, so it's been really cool to work alongside her in the group and the organization, and just see be part of something that she started.
Do you think things are improving? I guess that implies that things need to improve, and I would guess that you would say that they do for women brass players.
Yeah,
I mean, is it going in the right direction in terms of recruiting and participation and treatment and equal pay and everything?
I think so. I'm really lucky that I haven't had to personally deal with tons of any issues. I mean, there have been small things, but nothing huge. Nothing like Susan Slaughter and Marie Spitzial, and in people, back then, Susan talks about how she wasn't getting invited to auditions until she removed her first name and just used her first initial for the resumes. Just as I know exactly. So she really obviously paved the way, but I think things are improving. And, I think I sort of battle with the idea of, is it exclusionary? I mean, is having an IWBC seen as something that's only for women? And I think a way to keep moving it and into sort of an all-encompassing group would be the ideal, and IWBC is really doing that. The new president, Joanna, is trying to make it very obvious that the conferences are not just for women; it's for everybody. Everyone's welcome, and it's just a place that everybody is equal and accepted. And I think that's a cool thing. But I do think things have improved. I think the auditions are fair with screening and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's definitely better.
You want to hear
what I'm hearing?
Sorry to interrupt. You want to hear a great quote from Julie Landsman, which we've started posting a brass quote of the week on our Twitter feed at Pray4 Jens, which we're about to get to that. But even our social media handles are an ode to it. But this Julie quote is just awesome. She said, and I quote, "For my early years at the Met, my section consisted of many angry men, and my only weapon was to play better than all of them. It drove me to excellence." That's amazing. That is a mic drop. It's just like, it's not even they were all angry men and it made me the horn player. No, it's like, and it made me play better than all of them. It's like, I love it. And
that's amazing.
When you play the horn like she does, then you can say that, and no sane person is like, wait a minute, can you? Yes, she did say that, and you're gonna like it. So
exactly. No, I love Julie. She's awesome.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Her and in the Tetons, I sit behind Gail Williams every week, and it's just like the most amazing, experience ever. Is just sitting behind her musicality, her effortless horn playing, and so, wow, that's great.
Speaking of Gail, I was just going to say that the next IWBC is at Arizona State, May 21st to 25th, and there's a few people that we have interviewed. They've got Amy McCabe, Gail Williams, Gail Robertson, and then others, Stacey Baker. There's a whole bunch of people that are going to be there. So check it out if you are
Brittany
in the
Losh.
area. Yep. Yeah, some really good.
I was on the committee to pick all those people. So.
Hey, there you go.
Look at you.
Yeah, you did.
I know. There you go.
You did a good job of picking.
It's like Gail. Gail's my.
Good stuff. So, I guess, Lance, is there anything we need to do before Jens? I think we're probably there. I think we're probably there. So, she says, there you go. So you know our dear friend Jens Lindemann, and you certainly
of course I know Jens.
Know about the chop problems that he's been going through, allegedly.
Poor Jens.
Poor Jens. So, do you have any? You're very humble. You're very cerebral. You're very accomplished. You're a successful wife and a mother and an entrepreneur and so many hats that you wear at one time. So I think you might be uniquely qualified to help our friend Jens here. So what advice would you give Jens in this time of need?
Well, since Jens and I work in the same city, I would offer that, Jens, if you really, would love help with figuring this out, you could come over to USC, and on Monday nights we have our studio class, and you're very welcome.
That's a good idea.
To perform for the studio, and I can offer you the advice that you probably need to fix this problem.
That's power really move right there. Offering the I think he's still the head of brass at UCLA to come over to USC to the rival to play for free to fix him in front of the students. That was savage. I love it. There you go.
I'm very willing to do this.
Yeah.
Just give and give and give.
Yeah, exactly. When is it going to be time for you, Jen? Yeah, all you do is give. Yep, there you go.
I know, right?
There you go. Yep. No, none of you are playing this week in studio class because I'm going to be giving Jens a lesson in front of all of you. Yeah, that would be wait, is she serious? What's going on? Oh, that's fantastic. So but we're gonna hang out for just a few more minutes for the bonus episode. But where can people find you online?
Online, I have my own website, which is basically my name, jennifermarotta.com. And also I have a website that I started about 2 years ago, called askaperformer.com. And it's not really about me, but it's a site about, that it's still kind of in the earlier stages. I've, right after I launched it, I had a baby, so I've been a little slow trying to keep it as active as I want. But it's a website where, I went through a pretty big embouchure change many years ago, and in the time of doing that, I felt like I didn't really have much support, and it was sort of, people didn't want to talk about it, and you're seen as having issues, speaking of Jens, but
well played.
And it just felt like a lonely place. Yeah. But so I created this place because I've had so many friends in pros and friends that are actively performing, going through various things, and to have a place where they could share and actually maybe ask advice, and it doesn't even have to be, your name doesn't have to be out there. It can be anonymous. But there's a forum, and people share their stories of things they've gone through in their career. People like, that there was a violinist that had a horrible lawnmower accident, and she had to relearn how to play backwards. People with Bell's palsy that are brass players. Some Ryan Anthony's on there for, his cancer battle, and just various stories of people. So it's just sort of a place where I think it's nice to, support each other and see, victories and all that kind of stuff. So that's askaperformer.com.
Really great. Yeah, I'm flipping through it right now. This is very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm doing the same.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Cool.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and if anyone has a story they want to submit, then that's what I want to keep updating more and more. Is there's so many stories out there, just to feature a different person, and so if anyone has any, send me an email and I'll put it up there. Yep.
There's a link in the show notes to both her personal page as well as the Ask a Performer site. So you can reach out via either of those.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, thank you so much for carving out the time to talk to us this evening. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
And that is going to do it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram, and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.